Hello and welcome yet again to another in my guides to switching to Brewball from SC2. You know me, I'm Elegant, and I am ridiculously sorry for the fact that this video has taken so long to do. I've just been really busy recently, and I'm in fact about to move tomorrow to my new accommodation in Guildford to start Music Academy. I'm now sitting in my very forlorn, very empty music studio, which I will be leaving in only a day's time. But it's going to be cool anyway because, of course, I have plenty of time to do VODs while I'm there, so that's pretty sweet. Today, what I have for you is something slightly different. It was inspired by a couple of games I had, and I just thought it was a really handy lesson to get over to people. It is a video about defending and how not to do all-ins. I'm going to show you a couple of games of mine where I defended a Zergling all-in, and I'm also going to show you a game of mine where I defended a Mass Zealot all-in. So that's going to be some really good lessons, and you're going to see a bit of what not to do, and a bit of what to do if you are Mr. Protoss and you're trying to defend any of this horrible stuff. Now, I'm sorry that there's no Terran part of this video, but Terran is actually pretty much a less all-in type of race. I might be able to dredge up one particular game, if people really want it, of me playing against a Terran where he was going quite all-in. He's actually a really good Terran, so that might be useful. But unless people really want that, I'm going to stick to these other two races for now, because they are really more all-in styles. I'm also sorry for this being done from a Protoss perspective, but of course I am Protoss. Protoss is where I'm coming from, so I'll try and give you a little bit of an overview of what these players did wrong and also what I did right, so you should be able to learn plenty on both sides of the coin. I'm also sorry for my microphone quality today. I have no headset mic. As you can tell, my headset mic actually broke, so I'm just listening to my game through my rather lovely headphones. I love these things, actually, they're brilliant. And yeah, using my laptop mic, so I'm sorry. It's the best I can do right now, but I did want to get another video out just before I moved. So with all that out of the way, we're going to dive straight into the first game. It is me versus a Zerg who is MSJ Abitstar, and much to his shame, and so it should be, he disconnected at the end of this game, so there's just a warning out, and if he's watching, change your ways. It's not cool to disconnect at the end of a match, so I'm going to hotkey you over to that right now, and you should be seeing me right down in the middle where Mr. Adjudicator usually lives. So we're going to take a quick cursory glance at the map. We can see me in the top left hand corner as the lovely Mr. Blue Protoss, and him in the top right hand corner as Mr. Zerg. We see some pretty standard builds going down here. This looks very much like a 12 hatch build, which is spawning pool down very recently, and I have gone for the standard forge fast expand type of thing that you'll often see happen from Protosses. So now let's play the replay and check out what happens. I'll take the map preview off for you now as well. So basically, we've seen me going with a one cannon build. This is a bit dodgy, but it pays off, I think, if you manage to position probes well, so you can prevent a run by. It really gets your Nexus timing ahead for one thing, but it just saves that little bit of extra cash that you're of course quite short on in the early game, and gets the Nexus coming up a little bit quicker, which is really useful. You can pump extra probes, mine extra minerals. He's gone for a pretty standard type of build, which is the usual 3-base Zergy stuff, and it's very important to note that my probe is staying alive for a really good long time, and this is really going to help me in this game, because if nothing else, it will delay his timing attack to a point at which I'm much safer in defending it. So try and keep your scouts alive as long as possible, and this goes for any race, whichever race you're playing, Terran, Zerg, Protoss. If you keep that scout alive, it is only a good thing. It helps prevent against all-ins, and apart from anything else, it just helps you get a much better handle on what all is happening in the game. So let's go ahead and continue with this. See the probe running around doing its valiant best to stay alive, but all good things must come to an end, and he does eventually fall to the evil Zerglings. We're watching this on ×2 because it's just a bit dull. Ooh, out he goes, yeah, with the dodging. So he's a hardy fella, almost getting caught there, but he does survive. So we're going to go and take a quick look at what's happening at my end. Since I've gone for a one cannon build, I'm going to be able to afford Zealots, which does of course give the option for a bit of early pressure and gives me this extra bit of early safety. But what is critical to note is right here, my scouting probe went down, as it usually does at this stage of the map, and he has suddenly pumped a full round of Zerglings out of all his bases. He has been pumping Zerglings right now, and I just missed this crucial piece of information with my scouting probe, but not to worry. All his Zerglings are now running at my base, and it is looking rather a little bit horrible for me. So we're going to have a look at what goes down. I have one Zealot, another one coming in, and I have only one cannon, and I'm teching pretty fast as this slightly faster nexus allows me to get slightly ahead in the tech. And I would not want to sacrifice that. So let's bring it down to fastest as his Zerglings come across the map. I have produced 2 Zealots. Now let's see if I produce a third. I don't believe I do. I should have another pylon coming up. Yes, I do, but I'm now maxed out supply for this moment in time. And my next scouting probe goes out, and instantly, let's see what happens. The Zealots pull back because I was unable to get a complete block here, and it would have been very expensive for me to keep probes out here blocking with my Zealots when I did not know that he was doing an all-in, and to all intents and purposes I was sure that he was not. This is why I also stuck with only one cannon, because I had no idea that he was going for any kind of mass Zergling burst. So let's watch this on a slower speed. Immediately what happens is I pull probes. My Zealots are now fighting, but they need the support of those probes, otherwise they will lose. I don't know how common this is in StarCraft 2, but I think it's not very common to use workers in addition to your troops when defending a rush. The crucial thing about these probes right now is I will be able to A, drill through these Zerglings. This is when you select your probes, send them to a mineral patch, and then you hit attack move or stop when they're over the Zerglings. And this should trick them out and bug the AI and cause them not to be able to attack. But they can also create nice positions, funneling the Zerglings into the Zealots, making sure they can't get a good surround, and do plenty of damage also if nothing else. But I'm in a very sticky position now. We can see I have lost my only cannon. My Zealots are on quite low health, and I'm having to pull probes off to try and defeat quite a large number of Zerglings, more of them still coming in. But it's also very important to note that he has not been producing drones this whole time. We can see in all these eggs he's producing more Zerglings here as well. So his economy is going to be absolutely shattered if I defend this, and I know this, so I am completely okay with my decision to pull probes off to defend this, because if I defend it, despite the loss of mining time, despite the loss of probes, I will still be ahead. So we can see me microing around, trying to get good surrounds on these Zerglings, protecting my Zealots a little bit. He's gone for the Forge. This is because he wants to prevent me from putting up more cannons. We can see my probes doing a decent amount of damage, taking out a whole bunch of Zerglings there. And now I get around and try and get the surround on these last few. He decides that it's not worth it and pulls back and waits for more. So now we see a little bit of mismicro. We want this Zealot to be getting back much further. We want these probes to be better grouped back here. But of course I'm having to try and defend this while more cannons come up. So it's a pretty sticky situation for me still, but I've managed to stabilise it a little bit. So now his Zerglings are moving in, and we can see how critical these probes are. Look at that, funneling the Zerglings one at a time through to that Zealot. Absolutely key importance there. It stops me from getting horribly surrounded and stops me from losing those Zealots cheaply. A little bit of mismicro there. I'd want to be drilling these probes back to my minerals a little bit faster than that, so they can get back without obstruction. But a whole lot of Zerglings falling now. He does take out my Forge, but I've already stuck up a bunch of fresh cannons in order to prevent any further all-ins. And finally, a really, really nice block in order to prevent any kind of run-by from happening, and all his lings are cleared up. So what we saw there was really effective funneling of his Zerglings through into my Zealots to stop him from getting any kind of surround. And basically just protecting this front, not letting him in here. If he had got in here, it could have ended up disastrously, because he has then so much space to run around all my stuff, and he can go in and pick off probes, and my Zealots will never catch him if he micros properly. So I blocked really nicely here at the front and was able to hold him off with the superior probe blocking and the Zealots in the bargain. Another very important thing about these Zealots being here, I'll just switch it back onto me for a second. Another very important thing about those Zealots is that they bug out the Zergling AI also. So the Zerglings will focus on killing those Zealots no matter what. You have to specifically tell them to attack individual probes if that's what you want. Otherwise, they will just keep trying to get through to the Zealots all day long. So, if I'm a Zerg player and I click A, move my Zerglings in and go back home to build more stuff, my Zerglings are going to all try and get through to the Zealots. If the Zealot is blocked in behind a bunch of probes and there's one way through, and Zerglings are coming through one at a time, then the rest of them won't take the initiative and start killing off probes. They will keep bundling around at the back trying to get through to that one Zealot, and it's going to be so cost efficient for me. So remember that as a Zerg, you have to specifically be targeting down probes to get through, And as a Protoss or Terran player, if you're protecting your Marines with SCVs or protecting your Zealots with probes, that the AI is something you can really exploit. And that's why it's so important to have a fighting unit alive at all times if you want to successfully defend a rush with workers. So we're going to put the key back in, we're going to start this replay again, but basically at this point the game is over for him. We can see he has almost no economy. His tech is extremely late. I already have a couple of Corsairs on the way. Again, no drones here, so he has really nothing in the way of economy to speak of at all. So he possibly has one last gasp attack in him now, but I have no qualms about throwing up 3 cannons and just staying really, really nice and safe, pumping Zealots, sat behind my cute little wall in, which is really pretty cool. So he has one last hurrah. So he gathers up all his Zerglings and makes an attempt to run through, but a lot of them die on the way. I wasn't being quite vigilant here. I could have stood to be a lot more careful than that. But I quickly get back and block on the ramp so that my cannons continue to do damage for as long as possible. And he is very soon to be thwarted by my Zealots and probes. Keeping a couple of probes with my Zealots now just to keep the damage going up, keep the blocking going, etc. Catching another Zergling there. And these will very quickly be cleared up, and then it will be the GG or the disconnect, as it was in fact. So there we have it. Rush successfully defended, and now I'm so far ahead. I don't think even worth mentioning. He is just putting out a couple of Scourge. He has almost no drones at any of his bases, and I am in a vastly superior position right now. So I'm just going to let this replay play itself out. Actually, why am I even doing that? I'll hop you back over to me and load up the next one. So, I hope we got some interesting ideas from that game, but we saw very clearly how to defend a Zergling all-in, even if you are really, really pretty unprepared. If you do a 1-cannon build, it's often quite important to keep producing those Zealots, as long as your build does accommodate it, and I think that it really, really should, because you do get that economic advantage from it, and those Zealots are not wasted money at any point by any means. They're always going to be useful.